Welcome everyone to the Queen of TV channel. Before we get into our intro, let's get to three things. First, please watch the video to the very end and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Second, there will be cursing and profanity. If that's not your cup of tea, this channel is not for you. And lastly, I will be giving my honest opinion about the episode and the show as a whole. Without further ado, let's get into our intro. I am your host, the Queen herself, and you are the Prince of Princesses. You're either a subscriber or you are a viewer. Either way, welcome. Today we'll be talking about H2O Season 1, Episode 24, Love Potion. We start this episode off at the Marine Park with Cleo and Emma as they're trying to discuss what they're going to do about the dance. Lewis shows up saying that he made a scientific discovery. But the girls are more focused on the dance and trying to figure out a way to plan it and let her know they need a new place to have the dance because the Marine Park is booked. Lewis suggested they should have the dance at the Juice Net Cafe. They love the idea. They see that Miss Chatham arrives, and Lewis, not wanting to speak to her, said that maybe they could just wave, but the girls go meet her anyway, and Lewis reluctantly follows. While talking to Miss Chatham, her and Lewis have a little debate about whether science and magic can work. Lewis believing that he can cure the girls and that scientifically magic does not exist and that it can explain most of everything that we think is magical. So I guess it's gonna be that kind of episode, huh? Well, she's able to shut him down and actually win the argument. They decide to leave and meet up at the Juice Day Cafe where they get the thumbs up from Wilford to have the party there. Emma runs into Bryon and she goes off about how she's going to be so busy and how everything's not going to get in the way of that. And Bryon goes from being happy to sad, and Emma's waiting for him to ask her out to the dance. He doesn't. Ricky asks Emma why she just did not ask Bryon herself. Emma, still stuck in the damn Stone Age apparently, says that the guy is supposed to ask the girl, and Ricky reminds her that she's in the 21st century. Emma says that she has a lot to focus on with the dance anyway, considering she's on the committee. And Cleo backs her up, but Ricky says that Cleo only is backing her up because Lewis has not asked Cleo yet. While at school, Ricky is trying to convince Cleo to ask Lewis to the dance. She hesitates, and Emma and Ricky bring up to Lewis that Cleo is thinking about not going to the dance and want to know his opinion on whether she should go. Lewis said she should definitely go and that he is getting closer to his research. He tells Cleo he has something to ask her. Cleo thinks it's to the dance, but in reality he wants her hair follicle for his research. Nate, however, does walk up to Cleo wanting to go to the dance with him, but she declines. We cut to a scene on the beach where Emma can see that Miriam and Bryon are getting a little close, and Emma pretends like she's not jealous, but she really is, and is too busy talking to vendors about what to do about certain drinks and things needed for the dance. Cleo is still bummed out that Lewis is not asking her, but she still wants to give him a chance. Lewis ends up calling Cleo, and Cleo thinks that Lewis is going to ask her to the dance, when in reality he's asking for her earwax. She decides that enough is enough, and she tells Nate that she will definitely go to the dance with him. At Cleo's house, while the girls are getting ready for the dance, Lewis shows up with his research. He apparently has made it to where they could become waterproof. Every time that they touch water, they won't turn into mermaids. This might go well and might not. Let's find out. So it works. They are completely and utterly waterproof and get ready for the dance. This is where Lewis realized that he forgot about the dance. Lewis tries to ask Cleo out, but by then it's too late because she's going with Nate. Nate makes a sexist comment in front of his uh date's friends, including Cleo's father. His date is Cleo. And he tells her that he told her to wear something short and tight. Her dad asks, what did he just say? Cleo drops the subject and they get ready to leave. Seeing Lewis as they're about to go, asking if he's coming to the dance. Lewis said, yeah, he just got to get ready. Dom is like, why are you letting her go out with that guy, Lewis? That should have been you. So we cut to the dance, and Emma's too busy organizing everything. Cleo is having a terrible time because Nate tells her that he needs her to sit this one out and let him dance with his friends, while Ricky and Zane are having a great time. Lewis does eventually show up. Emma is bothered to see Miriam with Bryon, and Miriam is obviously giving her a look, letting her know that, yeah, I'm with the guy you want to be with. And Cleo is wondering if Lewis would have asked her if he remembered the dance. Emma says one way to find out. Go ask him. So before she can ask him, Tiffany grabs him and drags him away, and Cleo gets stuck with Nate and his friends. Ricky and Zane are dancing, but Ricky leaves to go do something, and then Miriam then takes her chance to dance with Zane now that he was free. Girl, let it go. The man don't want you. Let it go. Lewis reminds Ricky that she has to keep spraying herself with the Flumia. I want to know why. Seriously. But we're going to talk about this whole thing in my review. Ricky goes ahead and lets Miriam and Zane dance together while she's spraying the formula on her skin. Bryon comes up to Emma, and we start to notice that their skin is starting to change. Like it's like a pinkish color. It's starting to get a bit red over their skin. And it's not noticeable yet. But Emma and Bryon is talking, and Bryon tells Emma that he wanted to ask her, and she wants to know why he didn't. He tells her because she kept talking about how busy she was going to be, and how everything was going to be perfect, and how nothing was going to get in her way. She told him that she wasn't saying that she didn't want to go to the dance with him because he assumed that that was a hint that she didn't want to go to the dance. She lets him know that wasn't a hint. They continue talking, and Cleo is continually being miserable. Nate decides to drag Zane away from Miriam, and all of her friends and her decide to mess with Ricky by spraying out the Flumia. Lewis trying to stop them, but Tiffany is all up in his way. Ricky tries to insult Miriam, only Miriam tells her that it looks like she's like a tomato because she's all red in the face. And that's when she noticed that she's red all over her skin. The boys who are dancing with Cleo stop dancing with her and stare at her skin. She looks all over and notices that she's red. Bryon wonders if Emma is very embarrassed or upset because she's red all over as well. They are having a severe allergic reaction, and I know why, and I will get to that in the review. All three of them, along with Lewis, run into the cool room where they question Lewis about what had happened. Lewis said he needed to run more tests. He'll bring up the fact that maybe he needs more earwax, and he said, ideally, they're upset with him because now the dance is ruined because they can't go back out there looking like that. They are completely embarrassed. They leave and go to Mako where their skin starts clearing up because what's affecting them in their human form doesn't affect them in their mermaid form. The three of them start talking about the dance, and Cleo is wondering if Lewis and Tiffany are being romantic with each other. The dance is about to come to an end, and Lewis notices that Bryon and Zane are kind of bummed out because they don't know where the girls are, but they're going to wait for them. Lewis decides to do the right thing and goes to Mako and get them to come back. Miss Chatham stops him, however, asking him if something must have went wrong. He says no at first, but then quickly says yes. She says that magic and science do not mix. Lewis obviously comes to terms with the fact that, okay, fine, let's just say magic does exist. If science can't explain anything and a manual on how to handle mermaids doesn't exist, what is he supposed to do? She tells him to just be their friend. They don't need somebody that needs to run tests on them. They don't need a person to do all this fancy scientific stuff. They just need a friend. That's all she got for him. He used that with what he will. He goes to Mako where the girls are, and he's able to convince them that he still wants to help. He tells Emma that Bryon is still waiting for her, and that it was actually Miriam that asked Bryon, not Bryon asking Miriam, and that he found out from Tiffany through some motherfucking handstands. So she leaves, and Ricky thinks that maybe Miriam is with Zane. Lewis says no because she was dancing with Nate and he had told all his friends to keep her away from him. So she also leaves. Lewis lets Cleo know that Nate was asking for her, but Cleo lets the cat out of the bag. She wanted Lewis to ask her. And finally tells him that she was interested in him. While the girls are with their respective dates and they dance the night away, Lewis and Cleo have a heart to heart, which ends up them kissing and finally becoming a relationship couple. And the episode ends there. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. What the hell was Lewis thinking? Child, let's get into this review. So, what the girls were experiencing was dehydration. What Lewis's experiment was doing to prevent the girls from getting wet and turning into mermaids, it was sucking the moisture out of their skin. Any scientist that will tell you that knows science very well, more than Lewis, will tell you that he should have tested this first before actually using this on the girls. Because it could have completely dried their skins out and damaged it in the process. And the reason why it reverted back to normal is because they got wet. And they got wet with salt water. So it's obvious that the salt water washed it away and let it wear off. What I can understand is why they got to keep applying it though. And how many times they put it on their skin before they actually went to the dance or was at the dance. Because Lewis told Ricky that she has to do a top up. That means like spray some more of it on her. But like, it's only for like one day. I think if you spray it one time, they should have been fine. So I'm guessing that due to it trying to block out water, it had to suck out the moisture in their skin just to ensure that they don't turn to mermaids. And granted, yes, I've seen the comments. I know a lot of people feel like Cleo, Emma, and Ricky had no right to be mad at Lewis because he was trying to help. Here's the problem. They did not ask for his help. They were not caring about being mermaids. They care more about going to this dance. That's all they've been talking about the whole time. They didn't care about the mermaid stuff. Lewis did. They did not ask him to do this. That's my thing. Lewis keeps volunteering to help without asking them if they want his help. I know a lot of you feel like that they do need Lewis's help, but reality, if you think about it, when Lewis helps, it makes everything worse. And I'm going to talk about that in its own separate video. I know he didn't mean for it to happen like this. I get it was an accident. But you can't expect them to not be upset. This dance was important to them. That is all they talked about in this whole fucking episode. Was this dance. They care more about that dance and who they were going to the dance with than the actual issue of them getting turned into mermaids. I'm glad that eventually Lewis came to terms with the fact that you cannot cure them and that this was that episode where he thought this. Like I said, Lewis' mind of thinking is that there is no logical way these girls can be mermaids. And I knew for a fact that all that research he was doing was coming out to nothing. Because what is the point of constantly testing on them when it doesn't do them any good? To be honest, in this case, the one time he did do it, it made everything worse. It's good to see that they resolved the whole Bryon and Emma situation because we don't see Bryon anymore after this. We don't even see Miriam. Like, they're both completely gone. Tiffany's gone. Nate is the only one out of all of Zane's friends that stick around and the only recurring person they kept on the show. I wonder why. I don't know if he was a comic relief or what, but speaking of Nate is obviously supposed to be that sexist character. You know, the one who expect women to look nice and wear makeup and smile and wear tight clothes and show off their bodies and stuff. So, yeah, he's a nasty pig. But then that brings us to Cleo and Lewis. It is about damn time they got into a relationship. Really? 24 episodes? And you gave me a list of pros and cons of them being in a relationship. Because I have reasons to why they shouldn't be together and reasons why they should be together. And it's the same list of things, like the same number. I got like 10. 10 good reasons and 10 bad reasons. I wish I could say the same for Ricky and Zane, but you know what? It is what it is. We'll get there when we get there. But why on earth did it have to be a fucking relation? Why are we waiting till the 24th episode? We only got like 2 episodes left. We only got 2 episodes left before we get to season 2, and we all know how that works out. My God, give us what we want now. Don't sit here and force us to wait for it. But that was the show's choice. This was a pretty good episode. I liked it. It was a lot going on. I feel Cleo in this episode. I do. Lewis was so damn clueless about this dance. He was so busy worried about the mermaid stuff when he should have been worried about what was going on right now. The fact he sat there and asked this girl for her follicle, he plucked this hair out of her head, and then he asked her for her earwax. And it took them talking about after he gave them the formula that they can now go to the dance for him to realize the dance. And like, of course she asked somebody else. Of course she did. Cause like, why wouldn't she? You know, they were luckily had that heart to heart. They worked it out. They're finally a couple. Emma and Bryon had their sweet moment that went nowhere. Ricky and Zane got their moment. Everybody ended on a positive note. Zane and Ricky don't got any more obstacles because Miriam is gone. I'm being sarcastic about that. Emma is a free agent. For any man that wants to date her, she ain't got nobody in her way. Cleo and Lewis can finally make up for all that lost time that they didn't get to spend time together and be a couple. And I'm done with the episode. Before I'm fully finished, I want to talk about Miss Chatham. Kudos to Miss Chatham for actually standing her ground and not letting Lewis get to her. I mean, obviously she's dealt with Lewis before because she used to have a friend like Lewis, who we'll talk about when we get to season 2. But it's nice to see that Lewis finally came around and she too was trying to help Lewis and she was being nice to him despite him being disrespectful and an asshole. At least now after this, Lewis will start playing nice and will actually work with her. So I guess that's the end of that little mini feud. I still cannot understand what the fuck his problem was. I get it now because he's thinking with a scientist's mind and not an actual realistic person's mind. But you know what? Lewis did admit that when we found out about Miss Chatham in episode 13, there was a time he did not believe in mermaids, so it makes sense why he would think there's a logical reason why all this is happening. But that's all I got for y'all. I'm just glad that this feud between them is over. Emma and Byron are finished. Thank the God. Thank all the gods in the world that that is over. Ricky and Zane are continuing, and Cleo and Lewis are finally a couple. Hallelujah. Now I'm done. You guys have a blessed day. You have a wonderful day. If no one's told you this today, I'm telling you. I love you. I'll see you in the next video. We got 2 left. Until then, bye guys, and have a great rest of your day. Kisses.